famous, LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my poor friend, Paul Zubulake, Zubie. I thought tonight we weren't going to have much to talk about with the Jets, but boy, they never disappoint, my friend. I mean, this is ridiculous what's going on.
Well, yeah, John, it's we are doing our show on Tuesdays now, which is definitely a good idea. There seems to be a lot of news dropping on Tuesday mornings, so we'll be doing that going forward, dropping the show Wednesday. And lo and behold, John, as the continued evidence is pouring in about there's definitely got to be a competition, and maybe Bouk and Zoobie will have a competition. The worst franchise in sports, and there's no doubt that the New York Jets are in the running as Woody Johnson, aptly named by this show Captain Chaos, has to say that he's living up to the nickname we bestowed on him would be the understatement of a lifetime, John.
It's incredible. It's incredible. You can't make this up. You really can't make this up. And again, why would you fire a GM now? Why wouldn't you wait until the end of the year?
John,
What does he think is going to happen now that they fired the GM? And then they have, I forgot the man's name, Phil, I forgot his name.
Phil
It's
Savage
Thank you.
is the interim general
Right,
manager.
right.
Interim.
Who hasn't been a GM for almost 20 years.
Well, John,
What do they expect? I don't understand. What was the purpose of this? Maybe to open up both positions for one person?
Well,
Bill
I know where
Belichick?
well,
Bill
we're
Belichick?
you could head that way. I will get you back to reality. I give that about a 1% chance. And I said that the only way that Bill Belichick would come to the Jets would actually to be part owner of the team. And that's how much money Woody would have to flash in front of Coach Belichick. I think Coach Belichick is having a great time in his life right now. I definitely think he will coach again. He's not getting any younger, so that does lead to the argument. But you don't want him as your football czar, and he's a football coach. That's what you want him to do, is be the coach.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want him putting together a team. I think that's really far fetched. But yeah, all the names that are being thrown out there. I mean, this absurdity of Rex Ryan, the fans who want Rex back. I mean, my God, talk about like not having a memory. That would be an absolute disastrous decision. Unfortunately for Jet fans, the best way to do this is to get a quality GM, hopefully somebody who has experience and had some success, and then maybe just, got fired for not the right reasons. And they can bring that person in and make them, football operations head or whatever you want to call it, but basically calling the shots and to actually hire the coach with zero input from Captain Chaos. But it's plainly obvious, John, as we have mentioned how many times on this show, that Woody Johnson has been responsible for things like Tim Tebow showing up, Brett Favre showing up, Aaron Rodgers showing up. This has all been Woody Johnson behind the scenes driving this. And now that Woody de facto made himself the general manager early in the season with the ill-fated firing of Robert Saleh, who ultimately probably would have failed because the team is just not that good, John. But yeah, it's just a matter of one of those things. He's like a petulant child, Woody, where he was so PO'd after another ridiculous loss. I mean, really just awful. And they played to lose and they lost. And we won't even get into the game because it's like we're just rehashing the same old story. But one thing I will say is that, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is shot, John.
He is.
He is getting rid of the ball immediately, and it's just basically a self-preservation at this point. I know there's a lot of issues with this contract situation and how it's going to impact the team, and but I just cannot imagine him coming back with under a new GM and coach. This franchise is starting from scratch again.
And there's some news, if you want to call it news or rumors, that they've already made a decision not to bring him back. They're saying he wants to come back, but and over the weekend it was that, oh, we're definitely going to take him back. Now today from Connor Hughes is saying that they've made a decision not to bring him back.
Well, Connor must be
Next.
talking to Woody Johnson because he's the guy who's calling all the shots. So that's the decision. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's an abject disaster. Um, Joe Douglas deserved to get fired. There's no doubt. But
Yeah.
of course, during the season, it's amateur hour. But that's it. He just is so upset. He's just like, that's it. I don't even want to see the guy come into the office.
Yeah.
Joe Douglas, like he lived off the one draft, John. He had a great one draft. Otherwise, his results were mixed at best. The record says everything. John, this is just an absolute disaster. As we've discussed,
Right.
just on the people at our age, the 60 and above crowd, I don't know how many are left. Because how can you just go through this again? And now I'm going to start talking about what GM to hire and what coach, and
It's
I've
ridiculous.
had enough. I mean, it's really time, just to really just be an NFL fan. And I mean, it was great to watch like Buffalo play Kansas City, and such a great game. And there were other good games, and we'll get to these games, or when we go around the league. But I mean, there's only one group of people, John, that are happy about what's going on in Florham Park, and that's the other team in town, who only are just, how happy can they be that the Jets continue to just steal the headlines constantly, to avoid talking about what the heck is going on with the New York Giants.
Wow. Yeah, they're Daniel Jones, as we predicted. We predicted this. We say, why are you spending this money on him? And here we go. For
Tommy DeVito. I mean, they
back.
they
He's back.
signed John. They signed Drew Lock as a backup. They gave him $5 million. How does he not get a chance to play?
Maybe
What
it's the
he
giant.
must be sitting there going like, "Are you kidding me?"
This is their way to appease the Giant fans. They want Tommy DeVito.
What Giant fan wants Tommy DeVito? What? I'm seriously, based
Listen,
on
there's nothing
what?
else. There's nothing else. So maybe they want to see his dad out there cooking again. Maybe they want to get some free food. I don't know what the hell they're doing over there.
So
But
they are so lucky that the Jets clown show is
it's a
just taking
it's a
over the
clown show.
headlines, because I just was, I heard that's what was happening, and I was just like in stunned disbelief that they would go to Tommy DeVito. I mean, that's a tank. They are tanking,
They
and
are.
they are going for the number one pick. And they have a lot of competition, John, because I'm telling you, I have never seen. I mean, there are like eight or nine completely inept teams right there. It's
Well,
just
look what happened. Look what's going. Well, before we get to the other games, yeah, there's plenty of teams. But you know, it's funny. I can't help but think how similar the situation was when I was on the freaking train again, looking at my phone to see what's going on with the Jets and then blowing it again. I mean, it's unbelievable the similarities. How many times have they done this? And then you have this thing about the Giants, and it must kill them to see Barkley just having a great year. And now he's in commercials. You see, he's in these national commercials now.
yeah. Now,
Yeah, I mean, I'm
John,
telling you,
the
a lot
Giants,
of mistakes.
They selected Barkley number 2 overall, and they didn't give him a second contract. I know it was the other regime, but you can't make these moves as franchises. You're picking in the top 5, and then he's a good player. Okay, he's
He's
a
a very
running
good
back. You
player.
guys picked him. It's nobody wants to take a running back that high. They think he's like they thought he was such a top-notch player, which he is, and now he's leading the Eagles to obviously a playoff spot, no doubt. I mean, there's no. I mean, if you look at the NFC, I mean, it's very top-heavy, and I've never seen this, John. I mean, like I said, complete ineptness on the. There's just so many of them, and that's why you would think, oh, the Jets and the Giants have the top pick in their pocket. No, they don't. No,
No, they
they
do
don't.
not.
And then you got the other side that's so top heavy, where we have like 6, 7 really good teams. And it's going to be an exciting playoff
They
because
will be.
we're going to see. I mean, they're high quality teams. So I know I was preaching parity earlier in the season, but that's getting blown up as there's that
This year especially,
it's
yes.
really a huge separation of the
Yes.
haves and the have-nots, man. And I'll tell you, New York, tri-state area, I don't know if it's ever been worse. And we've had some dry, lean years in this town, but this is, I truly believe, for if you combine both franchises, I can't imagine. I can't even think of what was worse than this. It really is because when the Jets were at their worst with Richie Kotite, the Giants were actually a good team.
Yes,
I
they
mean, this
were.
is to see them both this. I mean, just it like I said, inept,
Inept,
absolutely inept.
inept, and the thing is that going into the games, the Giants are going to lose. You just want to know by how much they're going to lose. With the Jets, you're just
Right,
waiting for some catastrophe to happen
that is true.
and do something stupid. I, 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 by the way, I wanted to ask you.
Yes,
So last week you said that something really big has to happen for you to remain a Jet fan.
yes, yes.
Now, would you consider staying on board if they were to get John Gruden as their coach?
As the head coach, John
Yeah,
Gruden.
yeah,
It depends who the general manager is. It's a combination, right? Because the thing is with a guy like Gruden too, you can't give him full control. Belichick, you can't give him full control. Even Mike Vrabel, right? You can't
yeah.
give him full control. It needs to be a combination of top level general manager, we'll call him that. But I think that, I mean, and it's so obvious because now it's just the stories are just going to keep piling on about Woody Johnson, John, and
Ugh,
and and, and this is and I want to just every time I see something, I just want to post some of our episodes on these timelines on X and say like, well, guess what? This show has been talking about this nonstop about this guy and what a problem he is. I mean, John, you can go. I tell because I think we're pushing like 90 episodes and fantastic. I
yeah,
really
80,
appreciate
82. Yeah,
82
82.
we're up to, right? And if you go back and listen to our old episodes, you'll hear what I'm talking about. So we appreciate everybody hanging in there. I know it's tough. Nobody wants to talk about the Jets or the Giants. And football is the bread and butter of all these sorts of talk shows we have. So thanks again, youtube.com, Bouk and Zoobie, Spotify.com, our friends at the world famous LIR.com, 927LIR.com. Please, if you can like episodes, follow us, subscribe on all these platforms. We appreciate it. We hope you're enjoying the content. We wish we had something positive to say. I mean, you could, again, I could talk a little bit about the game because I know you were at the St. John's game, and luckily for you, you were. But the Jets they did not get their first down, John, until like 2 minutes to go in the first half.
I heard.
So it's just it's these slow starts and just not being ready. And
Yeah.
they're going after the coach. Okay, you should have went for 2 to make it a 9 point game. You should have went for the first down and not settled for a field goal because the inept defense can't stop anybody. They gave up two 70-yard drives to Anthony Richardson. They made the guy
Unbelievable.
look like a freaking all-pro, John. The
And he rushed for, I think, didn't he rush for like 3 touchdowns or something?
Is
They
it, oh,
said.
I'm not sure what the numbers were. He did. He definitely scored the game-winning touchdown. He's a good runner. He's a good
Yeah,
runner. He's got John. He's got potential. He's a project, and that's another story because the Colts are, believe it or not, are like right on in the fight for the last
they
playoff
are.
spot in the AFC. So when you draft a guy like that, you can't expect miracles. It's his second year. I don't. It's not a show about the Colts, but I don't. These organizations who just you think like you're going to draft a quarterback and it's going to be like the guy's going to be like a miracle worker day one. It takes time, patience, and Jet fans know this better than anybody because Sam Darnold and Geno Smith are continuing
Yeah.
to play well. Again, I know that's going pretty far back now, but it does show you just have to have a quality organization that's stable. And the Steelers prove that every year as they're one of the top teams at 8-2. You know why they're a top team? Because they have a top level organization
Yes, they
and a
do.
top level coach. And the Jets have had neither for their existence besides the 3 years of Bill Parcells where you really had somebody you respected at that football guru operations level or whatever you want to
Well,
talk
that guy Mike
talk about it.
Tannenbaum wasn't bad either. He
He was
wasn't bad.
okay, John, but he wasn't bad. But he had, he didn't every draft pick. He liked to trade picks, and I didn't love Tannenbaum. He had some success. I mean, they got to 2 championship games. That's, I mean,
Yeah.
comparable to what we're seeing now,
No,
of course.
we'll
But
take
he
it.
was part of that Tebow mess, and then he, basically said that it was his idea, and he's kissing the freaking owner's ass. I'm sorry, I'm so sick and tired of it. And Woody Johnson, Captain Chaos, is the problem. And I think it was Todd McShay had, the guy who used to be on ESPN. I don't know if you know Todd
Yeah, yeah,
McShay.
yeah.
No longer on ESPN. He's good friends with Joe Douglas. They went to college together at Richmond. That's where they both played. And he just is like a 90, he's like a 60-second and he just tore into Woody Johnson. And it was funny because he goes and he's saying like, "Oh, all Jet fans already knew this," and I'm like, "No, they didn't, Todd. No, they didn't."
They did not. And don't you love how after the game or during the game, Aaron Rodgers has passed Dan Marino, and I'm like, who cares? Who cares? That's
Yeah,
that's like I remember I had like a memory flashback when I heard that, and I remember I was at a game when Richard Todd like got the record for most complete passes or something in a
yeah,
game
sure,
at
yeah,
Shea.
yes.
And I'm saying, but the Jets lost the game. So what the hell do we care what they did? It's incredible how
I
they,
think
they keep
Clark
these.
Gaines had like 20 receptions in that game. That was the famous. I think he was
Yeah.
like, it was ridiculous. He was like through 60 something. I was at that game too.
Oh, you were
Oh,
there too?
John, I was at that game. Yeah, Clark Gaines. I think he had almost 20 receptions. It was a dump off city, and that's where Rodgers has become. It's like every play, two-step drop, boom, out of
Yeah.
like he
Yeah.
does not want to take a hit. He can't move. If he's hurt, pull him. Let's
He
see what
can't move.
Tyrod Taylor could do. And it's
Right.
so funny, John. In this game, in the first half, I'm like, they're going to have to pull Rodgers. And then what does he do? 2 minutes and a half, no first downs. They drive. Not only do they get their first down, they drive the field and they get a touchdown. It was a dump pass to Hall, and Brees had a good game. And you just feel for a guy like that. What are these young guys thinking? What their future is, and do they want to stay here? I mean, like you mentioned Gruden. I mean, at least he's a competent head coach. I would definitely not want him as the GM combination as being the coach. So because it's just going to be a distraction. Which I know it's painful to say, but I don't know, again, what the heck is going to happen if Woody Johnson's making these decisions because he's absolutely
I
incapable
I just
of
don't
doing it.
get.
He just signed the checks, Woody. Stop trying to freaking be involved. This has been going on for years. I'm telling you, man, it's been going on for years. And now it's
I just
blatantly
don't get it.
obvious.
But I just don't. I understand he wants to fire the guy. Fine. I just don't understand now. Now,
Ju-
unless he has something in his mind that he says, okay, I'm clearing the deck to let everyone know they have an open shot.
Yeah, I mean, they get an earlier start to hire somebody. I mean, okay, yeah, whatever, guy. Because anybody you should be hiring should be in the league right now. And I'm
Yeah,
talking about GM. Forget the coach for a second.
yeah,
I want the GM to hire the coach. I don't, that's how it should work. And if it's head of president, the president of football operations, whatever title you want to give this person is, they run the football side. Woody, you can still run a uniform selection and going on doing an interview or whatever the heck you want to do, but you need to bring in a football guy and leave that person alone and let them do the job. Don't go to Florham Park every day. Again, John, how many times have I said it? Him and his brother Christopher, they go to the facility every day. Folks, these two individuals have never worked at Johnson and Johnson a day in their life. I don't think Christopher's worked his whole life. Woody worked for the money management firm. You think he made any of the decisions? These two guys, they're not bad human beings. It's nothing about that. They think they know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. And it's not Christopher's fault, it's Woody's fault. And this idea that if this idiocy, oh, if Woody Johnson goes overseas, he'll be out of the way. No, you can still make decisions. It's
sure.
ridiculous to think if you're sitting in London or Brussels or freaking even Tokyo, guess what? You still can be involved. It's not that big of a deal. You think that doesn't happen with every freaking global company in the world? That they're working from different time zones making decisions. And so it's just this like dream that, okay, Woody's going to be gone and Christopher's going to take over. Like, it's like, I don't know what they have to do. Maybe the commissioner Goodell can help them hire a competent football guy. And then for those guys, literally, don't go into the building. Just sign the checks. You failed miserably up to this point. Just try something new.
Well, think about the Knicks when Dolan decided to be hands off and
Correct.
let Leon Rose run the show. Look how well they're doing now. It's
Yeah.
orderly. They have a great coach, great management. I mean, they set up things beautifully. He left them alone. Finally, he finally left
Right.
them
Right.
alone.
Exactly.
If you remember, when he had the fixation with Carmelo Anthony and the G, I forgot the man's name. He was a really nice guy, and he was an excellent GM. And he's saying to him, "Wait a couple of months. We'll get him as a free agent." He was so impatient that they
Right.
ended up giving up 4 players for him when they could have built upon those players, staying with them, and then bringing Carmelo in. So it's the same idea. Once Dolan left them alone, they shipped themselves up. He has to do the same thing. I agree with you. It's too much. I, I don't know if you want to call it
It's
the Steinbrenner syndrome.
Yeah, of course.
Steinbrenner had that problem, but
But the
he ended
thing
up
is,
being successful at one point.
right. He's been doing this for years, and the people who work for him don't. They've never come out and basically said the truth. So, like I said, even Tannenbaum took the hit for Tim Tebow. You think that Tannenbaum wanted Tim Tebow? Do you think that Joe Douglas wanted to trade all that capital for Aaron Rodgers and
Ugh.
not wait another few days? I'm sorry, folks. I know Douglas deserved to get fired. The record is what it is. There's no question. But if you think that Woody wasn't involved in this Aaron Rodgers fiasco with the trade, because if you did not give up a lot for him, it wouldn't matter. You took a shot, it didn't work, you move on. You sunk all these assets into him, you sunk money into him, and now we have to think about, again, he's not coming back. Hopefully he retires. Because he does look like I'm sorry, he looks like he's finished. And
Yeah.
how is he going to get, he's going to be able to have more escapability, maneuverability at another year older?
No
It's
way.
just going down, and it just look. I mean, I definitely expect him to retire, and God knows what he's going to do. But he gave it a shot. It didn't work out. Unfortunately, the Jets gave up draft capital, and they're just going to have to climb out of it, John. But
Well, you feel like every time he gets hit that he's going to crack in half. I mean, he looks so vulnerable, and when he gets hit, it's like, will he get up?
well,
You,
he's
you
never
know,
been a big
most young guys,
physical. I'm sorry.
most young guys, they get hit. You figure, all right, they'll get up. With him, you actually worry for him that okay, he's going to get seriously injured
Well,
because
I
he
think
can't
he's
move, like you
worried.
said.
He's worried, and he's never been a big physical guy. He's not like that. He's
No,
always
no,
he's about 6'1" and a half. He's a thinner guy. He's not, and he was quick, and he had great instincts, and he still has the instincts, but he can't move.
he
And
can't move.
it's coming off an Achilles. I mean, people thought it was like, I don't know how, I fell into the trap. I thought they would be good. I called it to be 10-7. I mean, I didn't really want to root for them to be bad. So I was like, I thought that was a realistic thing, that they could make the playoffs and they were going to be there. But it was obvious early, and we got off of that almost immediately, just based on our eyes. And you
Yeah,
knew that
it's awful.
defensively they weren't as good. And the whole Hassan Reddick disaster, what a disaster that is. There's a few guys who are playing well on defense, very few. It's just a complete, utter nightmare. And like you said to start the show, you were saying we were hoping not to talk about them, but man, oh man, do they always just drag themselves into the show, right? We can't knock them off. Get them away from. Just leave us alone. Thank God they have a bye now, John. So at least we've got that going for us.
It's almost like Godfather 3, where Michael Corleone says, every time I try to get out, they bring me back in.
Yeah, well,
That's
I'll
us with
tell
the
you,
Jets. Every time we
you know,
try to get away, they bring us back in.
so officially, I haven't given an update on my filing for divorce and seeing if I could sue the Jets for pain and suffering. But my lawyer has told me that I will not be able to prove that the Jets really created pain and suffering, despite a predominant amount of evidence to that. He just said file for divorce. So the papers are going in, John. So that will be
Oh,
happening by the end of the season. I will be
okay, good.
divorced from the New York Jets. But like any man who gets divorced, occasionally they remarry the woman that they divorce. So there is always a possibility that I will remarry. But at this point, John, it's looking like I'm moving on to another person.
Hey, and that'll be
uh,
great. Maybe we could give Vaccaro the scoop on it.
yeah, that's another story. Yeah, the Post now charging for these articles now. I don't know if you
Yeah,
noticed that. Yeah, so it's
yeah.
like, hey, we love Mike Vaccaro, we love Steve Serby, we love Mark Cannizzaro, but you know something, guys? If they're gonna put you behind a paywall, and Mushnick I should throw in there too, they're gonna put you behind the paywall. We can live without you guys.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I feel bad because the
Actually,
Post is the only, they've been free for so long. All these other papers have gone behind paywalls and nobody reads their stuff. So it's just like, sorry guys.
but I'll
So
give you a little roundabout from that. You can actually see those articles if you go on MSN or Bing.com. You will see those articles. I've seen it many times.
Okay,
where
so
you had to pay through the post, but somehow they were able to get it on their website, and
okay,
yeah.
a
Yeah, I
little
realize that
workaround.
because and it's not like you have to wait long. You might not get it in the morning, but by the evening you'll get that story.
That's too funny. All right, so on
Yeah,
a okay, same day type of thing. So
yeah,
well, yeah, I feel bad for those guys because I used to read their stuff, but it's like, oh, you're behind the paywall. Sorry, guys.
right, right.
There's too much content out there. I'm not paying for anything.
Yep.
All right, John. So you were at the St. John's game. We'll get into college hoops because there's definitely a little storyline for us personally coming up this week. But around the league, I don't know if you've got to see. I mean the Buffalo Kansas City game was just such a great game, and it just Josh Allen picked seventh in the draft
You
just to
could have
bring
had
back
them.
more nightmares for Jet fans. For the people who don't know this, the Jets had the sixth pick in that draft. And there was all this discussion about who to take and what to do. And what happened? The Jets decide to trade before the draft, and they go from 6 to 3, pick Sam Darnold. Mayfield goes first, then Darnold. Josh Allen goes seventh to Buffalo. If the Jets just stayed where they were at
Yeah,
6, they could have kept their two. They traded 3 second-round draft picks from 6 to 3 to pick Sam Darnold. Josh Allen got picked seventh. Lamar Jackson got picked 32nd in the
imagine
same
this.
draft.
Imagine.
And the Jets every time you look at Josh Allen play, John, I just pains me to think if they just stood where they were, what would have happened to this franchise. And when they made that trade, the great Mike McCagnon, I was livid. I was out of my mind that they would make such a dumb trade. And to see Darnold now having success, we lose our 3 second rounders. We've got nothing. And the Buffalo Bills have Josh Allen, who is just, John, the guy is just so much fun to watch. I mean, he is
Yes, he
just
is.
incredible, right?
He's a big guy, and he can move, and has a gun for an arm too. I
And
mean,
he
he has
and he,
every.
yeah,
He's a big guy. I mean, he's a.
yeah,
I wish that the Jets would stop getting these undersized quarterbacks. They
yeah,
always have a knack for it. They
yeah.
really
No, they're
do. They
yeah.
get these small guys.
Zach Wilson, Mark Sanchez, they were small. They were not big
Yeah,
guys. Yeah, John.
no,
I mean, Darnold's definitely bigger, but
I
not
know
to the
he's bigger, but he's
not to,
not
well,
Josh
Josh
Allen.
Allen's. I mean, he's in a class by himself when it comes to that. I mean, he's tough. He's gutty. And John, I don't even know if we talked about when it happened, but like one of the before the season, they had, the NFL players, made these like the polling, and they had the most overrated player in the NFL, and it was Josh Allen coming into the year.
Oh, I
So
didn't
yeah,
know
it was,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Wow,
named
wow.
by the players. Now, how many players do this stuff and all that? But that's what it was, and the guy looks like he could win the MVP. And they did it. They beat Pat Mahomes, who another. I mean, obviously Mahomes is tremendous. And finally, Kansas City loses. So
And he was
that will
very
make.
gracious in defeat too. Mahomes goes and congratulates Josh Allen.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that
hey,
was.
the skies are the greats, John. We don't have them. We only could dream that we would have a great
Uh,
player like that leading our franchise. The Jets and the Giants. I mean, the Giants had Eli Manning. I mean, obviously he wasn't in their class, but he was a really solid guy. Showed up every day for years, and it's a crying shame. So anyway, so that was like the big game from the. I mean, it's just a blur because after that Jet game, you just kind of you don't even want to like watch any more games. But that one, how could you miss? And it was like the highest rated game, like regular season game since like 2007 or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's those are the teams. Obviously, on the NFC side, Detroit's playing great. Dan Campbell. I'll tell you, John, Dan Campbell, I mean, he better not, when he gets into the playoffs, he just don't be
Just play
stubborn,
normally.
coach.
Just
Right,
coach normally.
right. Don't try to do something to prove you were right last year, you were wrong last year. That doesn't mean you still don't coach kind of the same way, but you do have to kind of think a little better. So, I mean, talk about a franchise that hasn't done anything. So I'm kind of rooting for him. I know you are,
Yeah,
because
that.
you just want to see a team like that, a franchise for a fan base. We think we're tortured. The Detroit Lions are tortured.
Yes.
Um, I still worry about Goff in a big spot. I'm talking about winning it all, folks. I'm not talking
Right, right,
about having
right.
a good team. I'm talking about winning it all. But yeah, no, they looking fantastic. Um, they definitely the class of the NFC. I mean, obviously the Eagles, the Vikings. I mean, they're having really good years, but can they win on the road? It looks like Detroit
I don't.
is
Yeah,
headed towards the home advantage.
yeah. I don't think they're
Um,
beating them.
so yeah, so look, and then obviously in the AFC, where you still have, it's up for grabs, right? Who's going to get the home advantage? That's going to be
Mm.
crucial. And yeah, the other game that was up against the Jet game, so you had to watch like a little red zone action, was Steelers Ravens, and
That was
just
a tough game.
I didn't see enough of the game to really comment on it, but I don't know how Pittsburgh's doing it. So you'd have to think that it's still Buffalo, Kansas City are definitely going to be the favorites, but
Again.
they're vulnerable too. And old Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers is actually now quietly showing that they could be tough too. So I don't know how much, there's not going to be much drama because now with 7 playoff teams,
Yeah,
I mean, the
yeah,
Colts are the seventh team, John. I mean, and in the NFC, the 7 teams are like I think Green Bay is seventh, and they're 7-3, and
yeah,
then there's not even a 6-win team. Then it's like 5-5s.
yeah.
So it looks like
They're
the NFC's already almost decided now who's going to get in. I mean, anything. I mean, it's still enough time. So there's not going to be any drama about who's really getting in. I don't see it. But plenty of drama about who can get home advantage, which is going to be huge. Obviously, the bye, and then obviously just having the home advantage for the championship game.
I mean, one team that I'm surprised they haven't fired their coach and GM are the Jaguars. I
Yeah,
mean, you
oh my
talking
goodness.
about a terrible performance. What happened? What the hell happened to Trevor Lawrence, man?
Yeah, no,
Holy
it's
mackerel!
yeah,
I wonder if the Jets could try to make a trade and get him.
John. He's got a huge contract. He's almost impossible to move. Yeah, no, yeah. So tankathon, folks. So yeah, let me. Yeah, well, Jacksonville's played the extra game, so I guess they're on their bye too with the Jets this week. So the teams that are at 11 games, New England's probably got the bye too. So yeah, here it is, folks, just to show you how pathetic it is. There are 5 teams with 2 wins: Jacksonville, Tennessee, Cleveland, the Giants, and the Raiders.
Oof!
And then you have 4 teams with 3 wins: New England, the Jets, who don't have, now will get their byes, and Carolina and Dallas.
Wow!
So the Cowboys are dogging it, and the other team, which no doubt, I mean, the Jets probably win for most disappointing. Dallas is right with them, but the
Yep.
Cincinnati Bengals, John, wow! I mean, what a they're 4-7. The field goal kicker was a good kicker. He can't make a kick. I mean, poor Joe Burrow, man, brutal, and
Yeah.
giving up on Joe Mixon. Talk about a disastrous decision there. He's had a great season. So yeah, I tell you, man, it's
It's a
rough in the
weird year.
NFL,
It's
man.
a weird year.
Yeah, it's just rough. It's rough, man. You can
Yeah.
go from the penthouse to the outhouse pretty quick. Now Zach Taylor at Cincinnati's in trouble. They're already talking about 7 coaches are getting fired. Actually, if you think about, well, Jacksonville 100%. They're even talking about Stefanski with Cleveland. Dayball's in trouble. The Raiders are I think Pierce is in huge trouble. I mean, Carolina, they just hired the guy. I mean, I don't know. Dave McCarthy with Dallas, he's getting fired. Obviously, the Jets are
A
already
lot of
fired. New Orleans
vacancies.
already fired. So, John, the Jets are going to have competition for head coaches. It's going to be half the freaking league.
Uh,
Anyway, enough about that because we're talking way too much
yep.
NFL today. So I know we want to. You want to do quickly college hoops?
Yeah, let's do it. So
All right,
I was
let's
at the
let's.
St. John's game.
All right, give me your opinion?
Patino against Patino.
Yeah,
Uh, St. John's looks very, very good. The one thing, because now I've seen 2 games this year, they're much more athletic. They're bigger.
okay,
Um, they have
and
some
deep.
excellent. Their defense is excellent. I mean, they play excellent defense. They're a little sloppy on the offense, but they have uh, some seniors that they brought in. The one kid is Scott, tall kid,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I'm trying to remember the other one. He was a guard. He was
Smith.
Allen is his
Oh,
name.
okay. Well, but obviously Smith and Richmond too, obviously.
And
So I mean,
yeah, Rich. But you know what? With Richmond, uh, he has trouble when he's dribbling the ball. He likes to dribble too much, and they keep stripping him all the time. He dribbles way too much, but
right.
he's fast as hell. He's fast. So I expect a real tough game against Baylor. I think Baylor is going to, it's definitely going to be. By the way, it's 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. The game starts.
5 o'clock on
Five
Thursday. It's
on
Thursday, right?
Thursday. Yep,
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Okay, there you go. I'm glad you told me because I would have found out, of course. Yeah, so I did watch a good amount of that St. John's game.
You did
So yeah, I did, and I just thought they were deep. They're much deeper than they were
very
last
deep.
year. They're very deep. Their outside shooting is still a little suspect. I love Smith. I love him, and I told you that about him. I mean, he turned the ball over a little bit. He was a little sloppy, but he is so fast. And I just, I'd mentioned to you about Richmond and Smith. They both like to handle the ball, and I'm still a little squeamish about that. But they just have a lot of bodies, like you said. The kid Scott, and obviously, they still have R.J. Lewis, right?
Yeah.
And he's a hustler, and Zuby Etchafor is playing a little better. So they play hard, and like you said, they're playing good defense. They have an excellent coach. Wiltshire did not play a lot, right? He did not play a lot
No,
in that game.
no. He was coming
So
off of the bench. He was coming off of the
right, so
bench.
this is going to be an interesting matchup. This is a really good matchup for both of these teams. Baylor, they beat Arkansas. They obviously got blown out by Gonzaga, but what are you going to do? You got to take your lumps and move on. This is going to be a very interesting game. I like Baylor to win this game. I think it will be tight, though. I expect it to be tight. I'm not sure what the line is. I probably should look that up. I would say Baylor is going to be like a 3 or 4 point favorite, but who knows? We'll see. So
Yeah.
that's the Zuby line, and
Well, and they
maybe
have
I'll.
some other good teams in that tournament that are ranked.
Yeah, well, it's 4 teams. I think it's
Yeah.
Virginia and Tennessee.
Yep.
So no matter what, you're going to play two tough teams. So win
Right.
or
It's a good
lose,
test.
yeah, you're going to play two. Because Tennessee's very good and Virginia's not bad. So yeah, I want to look at that line, John. I want to really know now that I know.
Oh, and by
Now
the way,
this is saying 7 p.m., John. I just want to throw that out there. That's what I
no,
was
I
throwing
saw
out
it at
there.
5. I
That's
saw it at
interesting.
5
So
p.m.
maybe the first game's at 5. Interesting. All right, hold on.
By the way, my tickets, they
Yes.
actually moved me down a couple more rows.
Wow. Good
So
for
we're
you.
even closer now. Great seats. I have to
Those
say
are
at the
beautiful.
Garden, and the person I was with, I was telling him the story about that you were flabbergasted that I didn't go for the Big East tickets, and that you had given me advice to make sure I do it this year because yeah, those seats were going for a lot during the Big East tournament, a lot.
Yeah, so anybody who's looking for Big East tickets, reach out to John. John, they're saying 7 p.m. on the CBS Sports Network. So I'm just telling you, that's what it's
Okay,
saying.
okay, okay.
7 p.m., which makes a lot more sense. 5, I didn't see. I can't get the freaking, I don't know why they don't have the line here. The guy is predicting St. John's by 1 point, by the way. So there you go.
Oh,
Whoever that guy
interesting.
is, the USA Today. And I'm sorry. So yeah, talk about something else while I'm here. I'm trying to find this.
Well,
I'm very interested.
how about if I talk about the NBA while you're looking for the line?
Okay. They're actually, what the heck is going on here? Okay, go, go. I want to hear about it.
So
Go.
the Lakers have decided to honor Mr. Pat Riley by giving him a statue outside of this stadium. They just announced it today.
And it'll probably look like Dwayne Wade is probably what it's going to happen, right?
I was waiting for you to say that. Oh
Hopefully
man.
people know what we're talking about if they haven't seen the Dwayne
They'll
Wade.
never Dwayne Wade will never live down that statue. They really got to get rid of that statue with it. But something very interesting. I have never seen this happen before. I'm going to describe it for you. Did you hear what happened with the Miami Heat with Spolstra?
No.
Okay. So they were playing the Detroit Pistons, and the Pistons had just tied up the game. There was a couple of seconds left. Spolstra was just so disgusted with his team. They tied, Pistons tied the game. He calls timeout, but he doesn't have any timeouts left.
Oh.
Sent the Pistons to the line. They hit the foul shots. He loses the game. I have never seen that happen in the NBA. Have you ever seen that?
Well, they get so many timeouts, it's hard to believe that they would actually run out. But yeah, that's
He,
a
yeah, he lost the game by calling a timeout he didn't have. I've
wow.
never seen that before. We saw it obviously in college with Michigan. When he
Right,
had
right.
the
Chris
brain
Webber.
lock there. But he's a kid. He's a college kid.
Yeah, right.
But I've never seen that in the NBA. Never. The Knicks are looking much better. I mean, Carl Anthony is just tremendous. He's such a tremendous player.
So you're
I
happy
mean,
with this deal, no doubt.
yeah. I mean, you don't realize. Listen. I knew about him. I saw him here and there, but the guy is so smooth with his 3-point shooting. It's almost automatic with this kid,
He can shoot.
and he's just an outstanding passer. He's an excellent rebounder. Again, defensively, I think he could do better, but we haven't had a center like him since Patrick Ewing. We really haven't. The guy's amazing. I'm really very, and of course, after criticizing him, this is what usually happens on the Bouk and Zoobie show. We criticize a player, and they do tremendously. Is Mikal Bridges has actually been playing great defense and has actually been shooting very well. So maybe I should criticize him more because he got his 3-point shooting back. So Knicks looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good.
And how about the craziest thing? So what is the record for opening up a season without a loss? Cleveland's up to 15, right? Do you know what it is?
I have no idea. That's a good thing to look
I
at.
mean, it's got to be close, right? 15-0, right? I mean, that's like
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. They're a good team. Listen, they've been a good team now for 3 years. Can they get over the hump? Is the question. Can they do well in the playoffs? They
well,
have a
it's
good team.
I'm gonna have to do some research on this betting line. I can't find it, and also what is the all-time record? Maybe somebody will throw that in the comment section and sober us up here and make sure that because this is how we operate, folks. We do our show off the top of our heads, right, John?
Off the
And things
cuff.
pop in there, and like, oh yeah, what's this? Oh, and it's not like we have a staff here to the side. So can you check on that for me, please? So yeah, we'll do a little better with that. Yeah, I mean the winter sports, John. The same thing with the Rangers. I mean we got to mention the Rangers. Philip Hedl, again getting hurt. Uh, it looks like it's not a concussion. He did fly out. They're out on the West Coast. They're playing Vancouver tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern for you night
Oy.
owls. So that's how it works, right? It's the same thing. When the teams go out west, it's rough to keep going. I mean, the Rangers they're struggling, right? The goaltending's been great. I'm on the record already saying, why didn't you change your roster more going into the season? They made basically no changes.
They're the same
Uh,
team.
Same team pretty much, and I just don't think they're good enough. I hope I'm wrong. So and actually, I guess when it comes to if you look at the standings, they're like eighth or which is obviously a playoff team. The Devils have done well, and actually the Rangers have played the least amount of games in the league for whatever reason. So they have many games in hand. So it's so hard to talk about these sports, John, because the season is just so long. So we'll have
I
plenty
have
more to talk about that.
I
Plenty more
actually
time.
just checked the
Yes.
record for
Okay.
the most opening wins are the 2015-16 Golden State Warriors.
Oh, okay. 18?
24 and 0.
24. Wow.
24 and 0.
Okay,
The
there you go.
Cleveland Cavaliers are tied for second.
Okay, so I don't feel that bad then, because I thought 15's a lot. 24? No, they were. I don't
Yeah,
in
they're tied
2000.
with the 1993-94 Houston Rockets
Okay.
and the 1948-49 Washington Capitals. Can you believe that? That is some winning streak, huh? When I read that, I'm like, wow, that Golden State Warriors were amazing, huh? 24 and 0 to start off
So
the
wait, you're
season.
telling me that the Washington Capitals that's always been the hockey team? What do you mean Capitals? You mean
Yeah, that's how.
were
Yeah,
they the Capitals? At what were they?
capital. Yeah, with Capitols.
Really? I
Yes.
don't remember that. So
Yep.
this is before after the Bullets, right? Because they were the
Yep.
Bullets, right? So you had, of course,
Yep.
you can't have a name like the Bullets. So that was
Yep.
the in between. Now they're the Wizards and they stink, right? They are
Oh,
bad.
that
They've been
was
bad.
that was a terrible game to watch. I mean, the game was already over after the first quarter with
Yeah,
the
they're
Knicks.
bad.
They're
Yeah, they're
really
bad.
bad.
There's some bad
Really.
teams in the NBA. All
Yeah.
right, so there we go. All right, folks. So I know we're definitely gonna have a rant tonight. Everyone's gonna be excited. We're gonna have a few minutes for that, but now it's time because, John, this is, I mean, it's getting a little aggravating with the lack of activity with free agent baseball with Book.
Yeah, I mean, we keep talking about Soto. And along with talking about Soto, you have all these crazy rumors. And I was laughing today when someone quoted the famous Carlos Baerga, who's saying the Mets offered 660 million, according to Carlos Baerga.
Okay.
Okay, I say, why are we even talking about Carlos Baerga? What? Come on, stop. And then there was another rumor, according to Michael Kay. He says he has deep sources that the Mets are going to get Soto because Cohen told Soto, I will offer $50 million more than any other team will offer you. Whether these things are true or not, I listen, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. But let's talk really quickly. My man, Mr. Yeel, wins the Rookie of the Year for the American League.
He did win it. Good for
He won
you.
it. He won it. How's that for a Kalaboukas call from spring training?
That was a good job. Nobody even knew who he was. I had no idea who he was, and you called him out. You thought he looked good, and you
He looked
called it. Good
great.
job, John.
He looked great. And then, of course, Paul Skeens with his famous girlfriend there. He was awesome. I mean, and it's funny when you win the Rookie of the Year, they automatically, according to contracts now, add another year of service, so they get closer to free agency.
Okay.
So that was a good thing for them. The Mets actually made a trade today, which it's one of those David Stern's under the radar. I actually know the player, so they got rid of the guy. You saw him in a blink of an eye, one of those relief pitchers. Eric Orz was traded to the Rays. It was obviously a salary dump. for this guy Jose Siri, who is a great defensive outfielder, and he actually has power. So he may be. I'm thinking that he may be the replacement for Harrison Bader, a cheap. He only makes $2.5 million a year. That's what he's going to get in uh, arbitration. But he's hit 25 home runs 2 years ago, and he had 17 in a part-time role.
Okay.
His average is terrible. I mean, the guy could barely hit 200,
Okay.
but he's a great defensive outfielder. So
Okay.
you're probably going to see this kid playing on. He's definitely going to be on the Mets.
Okay. There you go.
Now let's talk about Hall of Fame. So the new Hall of Fame list came out. I'm going to give you the names,
All right.
and then I'm going to see if what you think who belongs in the Hall of Fame or who will get in this year. Okay. I mean, this one's easy. Suzuki, Ichiro, definitely is going to get in.
Okay. He's
We know
he's
that.
on the list. Okay. I
Yeah.
agree.
CC Sabathia.
Woo. Not first timer. No, I'm going to say no.
Okay.
Close.
Carlos Beltran. He's
Woo.
up.
Another close one, right? Wow. Man, oh man. All right. I'm going to say no. Okay, but that's close. Okay. And what's you can make opinions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to go through the names and I'm going to tell you
All right.
which ones I think I get.
Okay. All right. Go.
This is another tough one
All right.
because he almost made it last year. Billy Wagner.
I don't think he is, but I'm
He
gonna
got
I'm gonna say
73.6%. He was
yeah,
that close to
I
making
know.
it last year.
But it was almost because nobody else was kind of worthy,
Yeah.
right? So he benefited there. So I'm gonna say no. He's not a Hall of Famer. No way. I'm sorry. I definitely go Sabathia and Beltran over Wagner. Definitely. Because I guess what you can vote for 10 guys or something. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. The last one. I mean, these are the
Oh,
rest of them are guys that'll never make it. Guy I keep thinking gets overlooked is Andrew Jones.
yeah, he's enough. He's
right there.
I'm not
Another guy.
I'm not a numbers maniac, so you have to look at the numbers, right? Because a lot of these voters, they just look at numbers. So, I mean, if you gave me that list right there, if that's the new time. So that was it, the new time, because Sabathia and Beltran.
No. Some of these
No,
guys were on the list last year. I'm saying I picked out the ones that
no, I no.
may have a shot. It's
Okay.
others that like Bobby Abreu. These guys,
Yeah.
none of these
Okay.
guys are going to get in.
But I'm saying, because Wagner is obviously and Jones have been
Right.
on the list.
Yes.
So
correct.
Sabathia and Beltran are new.
No,
So-
Beltran had his first year last year.
Oh, he did. So what percent did he get?
Yeah, he didn't. He barely got 50% last
Oh, he
year.
did. Oh, okay. Is it
Yeah.
because of the cheating stuff?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think they're trying to punish him for that.
Because he's okay. Sabathia's going to get in, John. If that's the list, he's getting in.
Yeah, I think that you're gonna see Suzuki get in.
Yeah,
obviously.
him definitely. Yeah.
Sabathia, I think so because he has 253 wins.
Yeah,
he was a winner. I think he's gonna get it. And
Wagner's getting it in. He's going to get in because there's nobody else. Right?
I think Beltran he should go in based on what he did.
Okay.
Wagner, I agree with you. I mean, although I liked him, he wasn't a shutdown closer for us. With Houston, he was, but now with the Mets, I mean, every reliever we get, we always have to hold our breath all the time. So I think he's right on the cusp. But if you look at his stats, he actually has better stats than other relievers that are in there.
Yeah. Well, I think based on the fact that people have to vote for 10, they don't have to. You could not vote for 10, but most of them do. I think that Wagner, Sabathia, Ichiro, definitely those guys are getting in. And like I said, Beltran, I think I agree with you. I think he's got a good shot because it's just not who else are you going to vote for. I didn't realize
no
it
one's
was
going to
that
vote
lean.
for. No one's voting for Barry Bonds. No one's voting for Alex Rodriguez. No one's going for Roger Clemens.
Are they still technically eligible now? They're still
Alex Rodriguez is.
But the other guys aren't. Like the 10 years is up or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I think with Barry Bonds it is. I'm not. I believe with Clemens too. Yeah, but
Alex Rodriguez
is on. Alex Rodriguez is on there.
All three of them should be in. Come on. I mean, it's let's not be naive. Everybody was doing the roids back in that era. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not every player, but it was
You know who
a
should really be
high
in?
percentage.
You know who should
Yes.
really be in, to be
Yes.
honest? Let's forget about Rodriguez. No one talks about Manny Ramirez. He was a fantastic
Of
hitter.
course,
I mean, one of the best hitters for 15 years. This guy was
John.
phenomenal.
Whatever. I think it's that whole situation is like you're basically saying you know who did steroids and you know who didn't. Nobody knows,
Nobody
and
knows.
I don't want to condemn guys who like Piazza obviously always took a lot of crap. Everybody thought he did. You know something, John? He probably did. Hey, I'm not nothing against the guy. It was everybody was doing it. So it's like you're telling me that 70% of the guys are doing it, and then you're one of the 30%, and you might not like stay in the league. I'm just sorry. The peer pressure now.
Yeah.
To the level of what Bonds was doing, maybe not to that level. So
Well,
and
you
I and
know,
but let's
your
face, you
head,
got to be
yeah, but you know
realistic.
what? Your head doesn't grow 4 times the size, okay? I mean,
No, but Balco was. They know what went on with Balco.
of
Like
course
that
they do.
was proven. So it was proven what he did. But
Yes.
you can't be naive and think guys like Bagwell and Piazza might not have partaked as well, right? So I'm sorry. And again, it's nothing against those guys. They were great players and they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But I mean, I just like the truth serum. Let's face it. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that the guys were doing it and the guys weren't. I just think it was just an
Well, the
arms
dead
race.
giveaway, if you remember, the dead giveaway during that era is when a guy like Brady Anderson hits no more than like
Yeah,
12,
right,
13 home runs and he hits over 50.
right.
Come
Of
on.
course, of
And
course. So
then he
that's what
never does it again.
John. The whole remember those statistics
Sammy
back then.
Sosa. How about Sammy
Everybody was,
Sosa?
but there were other guys. Remember the statistics back then? There were crazy guys
It
hitting
was
30,
crazy.
40 home runs. It was come on.
It was
Anyway, enough of
crazy.
that. I just don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Those
Yep.
other guys definitely should be in the Hall of Fame. Good. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yep. And again, as far as Mets and Yankees, like I said, I have really not much to say
Now
except
well,
we'll see. We'll
it's a
see
wait
what
and
goes
see.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that'll give us something to talk about. So I
Yep.
know you had something else to talk about.
Oh yeah.
It's a sport that is it a sport? But anyway, it's time for the rant of the week.
Thanks, Paul. So when you think of boxing, you think of Ali Frazier, Foreman against Frazier, Ali, Norton. You know, you think of good fighters. You think of Hearns against Hagler. I mean, it's a tremendous sport.
Was
It was a tremendous sport. So I watched I watched on Netflix, like 60 million other people, Tyson versus Paul. The first thing I want to say is I timed it perfectly because I figure, all right, you know what? I saw the fights before this. It probably started around midnight. So you had to wait until midnight to see this
did
fight.
it start by midnight? Because I gave up.
It was a little bit past midnight.
It was past midnight.
Past midnight.
It was a Saturday though, right? It was Saturday, right?
Yeah, Friday night.
Oh, it was Friday.
Friday. Well, technically Saturday.
Okay. Technically Saturday.
I will say one thing that there is hope for the sport because I actually watched the fight right before it between two women. One, this
I
one
heard.
woman, I think she was from Ireland, Taylor, and the other one was Serrano. I'm telling these young ladies put on one of the, even though I don't like seeing women beat up each other like that, it was such a great fight. I have to say, they're 2 minute rounds with women.
Right,
It's two
right.
minute rounds. They went the full distance.
How many
This
rounds? They go
10
10?
rounds.
10?
10.
Okay.
Yeah. They beat the crap out of each other. But this young lady, Taylor, was a dirty, dirty fight. I mean, with the headbutts intentional headbutts, opening up this huge gash over Serrano's eye. But guess what? Serrano just totally outboxed her, beat her up, hit her with just massive shots.
And
Great
lost.
fight, but what happens in boxing? They gave it to Taylor. And right away, you see the look of disbelief on that poor young lady's face, Serrano, because it was the second time they had fought, and it was the second time the champ ended up getting the decision. And there was no way, no way. Even the announcer said, "What?" So you know that boxing is still shady when it comes to these fights, because that girl should have never lost that fight. No way, no how. But they showed such great skill. I'm telling you, and by the way, these two young ladies were the headliner in Madison Square Garden, and it was sold out for them. I didn't know that. They sold out Madison Square Garden, these two. So there is hope for boxing for women.
As for the men,
As for Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, no wonder that they were showing Mike Tyson in 3 to 4 second spurts on the internet to say, wow, look, Mike has his power. He has this, he has that. Listen, he had a good 30 seconds in the fight, which was the first round. That was about it, where he actually attacked him. But after that, it was, you know, it was excruciating it was really excruciating to watch, because you're waiting for Mike to go after him, and he just couldn't do it. If this was even 10 years ago, Tyson would have taken this guy out easily in the first round. Easily.
right?
Easily. And they actually had 2-minute rounds. But
He's
to,
58.
right, to say that, and by the way, Tyson made 20 million and Paul made 40 million.
How did he made
They had they had 72,000 people. They sold tickets 72,000 people in Dallas. They had a gate of 18 million. Then you had another 60 million people watching it on Netflix. Now, I didn't have any problems with my feed for whatever reason. A lot of people said
Yeah,
that there were problems,
they were
but
supposedly. I didn't say. Yeah.
but you cannot. Netflix should really have been ashamed of themselves to say that this was boxing. It was not boxing. They had a tremendous opportunity to put on a real boxing match, and this is not boxing. We want to see real fights. I don't want to see Pacquiao coming out of retirement, or Mayweather again, fighting some schlub.
Right.
Give us some real fights. Give us a Tyson Fury, who's a nut job, but he puts on a great show. Give us some real fights. This was not
Well,
boxing. Not
right.
boxing.
But the thing is, this whole situation is that most people have Netflix.
Right.
People, or a lot of people, still pay for pay-per-view, but any quality boxing match, real boxing, right, as opposed to what you were watching, it's all pay-per-view now.
Yeah.
So it's a niche, small crowd. But Netflix, most people have it. So like that's why everybody jumped all over it. It's just like, oh, great. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people have Netflix. So it's just like, hey, this is a free fight. That's why they got so many people watching, because it wasn't pay-per-view.
Right.
And it's a
Right.
shame because I couldn't name any boxer, and I'm sure there's some good boxers out there, but you don't see them because any of the top fighters, every fight's on pay-per-view. That's all it is, right? It's so,
Yeah.
the
Well,
old
that's why.
days, we were lucky. We even saw some on Saturday afternoon. They used to have some decent fights, but and even on the weekend at night on basic old-fashioned linear TV. But
Yeah.
pay-per-view changed the game, John. So people. I mean, I don't know. Unless you get a bunch of people together, it's the only way. You're gonna pay $60-$70 for a fight. I mean, it just. I think that's really hurt the game. So maybe it will make a comeback, and maybe the women will lead it. So yeah, I did hear some good things about that. Definitely heard she got robbed. So that's, again, like you said, what else is new? It's not the first time that's happened, and it won't be the last. So that's a
Yeah.
good rant, John.
Yeah, and if you ever want to see that fight, you could look at it on YouTube. They have it
Oh
already.
yeah, I'm sure.
They
Or I
they
could
have
probably
the
go on
Tyson
Netflix
fight on
probably.
there too.
Right. I could probably do it. If I got an urge to watch a couple of women beat the crap out of each other, maybe I'll tune in. And maybe I'll watch next Sunday since there's no Jet game. We will be back next week, folks. And yeah, we won't be talking about the Jets, so that will be interesting. So we'll talk about the Baylor St. John's game. Never found that line out, but that was my line, -3 given to St. John's. I'll have to check that tomorrow. So who do you got to thank, my friend?
As always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners. Keep the feedback coming. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you next week.